Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever thought about the people who shaped your life? The friends, mentors, or family members who offered guidance, support, or simply a listening ear when you needed it most? Now consider this. What if those people weren't there? What if the guidance, encouragement, or understanding you needed never came? That gap, that void, is precisely where you have an opportunity, a chance to become the person you needed. Have you ever paused to think about your own journey, about the struggles you have faced, the moments you felt completely alone, or the times when life seemed to test you in ways that felt unfair? Every one of us carries a story filled with challenges, doubts, fears, and frustrations. And embedded within those stories are moments where we longed for guidance, for understanding, for someone to show us the way. Perhaps we didn't have that mentor, that friend, that figure to light the path. Perhaps we stumbled in the darkness, searching for a hand to hold, for someone to offer wisdom, encouragement, or simply a kind word. And in those moments, if you think about it deeply, you realize that those experiences, those gaps, are not just memories, they are lessons. They are the foundation for understanding the power of reflection, the power of realizing what you needed then, so you can become that now. Reflection is not always easy. To truly look back at our struggles requires courage, the courage to revisit times when we felt inadequate, the courage to confront the pain we endured, and the courage to face the parts of ourselves that felt weak or uncertain. But it is in that reflection that we find clarity. When you reflect on your past, you discover the moments that shaped you, the experiences that tested you, and the voids where guidance was missing. Perhaps as a child, you remember the fear of failure, the anxiety of not being good enough, or the longing for someone to reassure you that making mistakes was okay. Perhaps as a teenager, you felt isolated or misunderstood, wishing for someone to encourage your dreams or simply listen without judgment. And perhaps as an adult, you encountered obstacles that required strength, patience, or resilience, and you realized that the support you so desperately needed was nowhere to be found. These reflections are not just memories of struggle, they are a roadmap. They reveal the qualities that would have made a difference in your life, the advice that would have guided you, and the encouragement that would have carried you forward. Thinking about the past is not about blame. It is not about dwelling on what others failed to provide. It is about understanding the gaps in your own life and recognizing that those gaps are now your opportunity. They are your invitation to step into a new role, a role that allows you to be the guidance, the encouragement, and the support that you once needed. When you reflect on the struggles you faced, you begin to see them through a lens of purpose. You see that every hardship, every challenge, every moment of loneliness or uncertainty was not simply a trial, it was a teacher. It taught you empathy, resilience, patience, and awareness. It taught you what it feels like to need someone, and in that awareness lies the power to transform not only yourself but also those around you. Reflection also demands honesty. It requires that you ask yourself difficult questions. What did I need when I felt lost? What advice would have made a difference in my life? What kind of encouragement could have given me the courage to continue? The answers are rarely simple, but they are profound. They reveal the values, the character traits, and the behaviors that are worth cultivating within yourself. They show you the kind of person you are capable of becoming, the person who steps into the world with compassion, understanding, and purpose. When you reflect honestly, you no longer see yourself merely as a product of your past struggles. Instead, you begin to see yourself as a creator of your future, a person who can intentionally cultivate the qualities that were missing when you needed them most. The power of reflection extends beyond personal growth. It is a bridge to empathy. When you remember the times you felt unsupported, you naturally develop an understanding of what others might be feeling in their own struggles. You recognize the isolation, the frustration, and the fear that can come with facing life's challenges alone. This awareness allows you to respond differently, not with judgment, not with impatience, but with compassion. You begin to understand that every person carries invisible battles, and that your ability to offer support, encouragement, and guidance can profoundly impact their journey. Reflection, in this way, transforms your struggles into a source of strength, not just for yourself, but for everyone you encounter. Consider for a moment the people who inspired you, even if they were few or far between. Think about the mentors, teachers, friends, or family members who provided that spark, who offered words of encouragement when you felt like giving up, or who modeled qualities you admired. Now imagine that they were not there. Imagine the difference it would have made if no one had guided you, if no one had encouraged you, if no one had believed in your potential. The absence of these influences is precisely what reflection teaches you. It shows you what you need to embody within yourself. It calls on you to become the mentor, the supporter, the encourager that your younger self or your struggling self longed for. By reflecting on your own experiences, you uncover a powerful truth. The guidance you wish you had can now be given by you. The strength you sought can now be cultivated within yourself. The encouragement you needed can now flow from your own actions. Reflection also opens the door to self-compassion. Many of us are harsh critics of ourselves, dwelling on mistakes or shortcomings instead of learning from them. But when you reflect on your struggles and acknowledge the guidance you needed, you also recognize that you did the best you could with the resources you had at the time. You see that you navigated life with courage, even if it was imperfect, and that every misstep was a chance to grow. This understanding allows you to forgive yourself, to honor your journey, and to approach your own development with patience and care. Self-compassion is not a luxury. It is a necessity if you wish to truly become the person you needed. Without it, reflection can become self-criticism. With it, reflection becomes a transformative tool for growth. Furthermore, reflection encourages intentionality. When you understand the gaps in your past, you can consciously choose to fill them in your present. If you wished for someone to believe in you, you can start believing in yourself and offering belief to others. If you longed for guidance during moments of uncertainty, you can cultivate wisdom and provide direction to those who seek it. If patience, courage, or kindness were missing in your life, you can develop these qualities within yourself and share them generously. Reflection transforms passive longing into active transformation. It moves you from the question of "what did I lack?" to the statement of "I will embody what I needed." It turns memory into action and experience into empowerment. Many of the world's greatest leaders, thinkers, and change-makers share a common trait. They reflected deeply on their own experiences and used that reflection as a guide for how to live and serve others. They asked themselves, often in moments of hardship, what they needed to hear, to see, or to feel, and then they made it their mission to provide that, first to themselves and then to the world. Reflection gave them clarity, empathy, and direction. It allowed them to turn personal struggle into universal impact. And this same principle is available to every one of us. Regardless of our background, our circumstances, or our past failures, we have the capacity to reflect, to learn, and to embody the guidance we once lacked. Ladies and gentlemen, the journey of reflection is deeply personal, but its impact is profoundly universal. When you reflect on the guidance you needed in your life, you are not only honoring your own struggles, you are also preparing to be a source of support for others. Every experience of hardship, every moment of doubt, every feeling of being alone becomes a stepping stone. Reflection allows you to transform pain into insight, absence into opportunity, and longing into action. It teaches you that your past struggles are not liabilities, they are assets. They are the foundation upon which you can build the character, wisdom, and empathy needed to become the person your younger self or your struggling self always needed. Reflection also teaches resilience. When you examine the challenges you faced, you see that surviving those moments required strength, perseverance, and adaptability. You begin to realize that the qualities that helped you endure can now be consciously developed and shared. The self-doubt you experienced, the failures you faced, and the loneliness you endured are no longer simply memories. They are lessons in endurance and insight into the kind of person you are capable of becoming. Each reflection strengthens your understanding of what it means to persevere, to guide, and to support, both for yourself and for those who will one day look to you for the very qualities you once needed. Finally, reflection connects the past with the future. By looking back, you understand where you started, what was missing, and what is possible. You see the chain of experiences that brought you here and recognize the power you now have to influence what comes next, not only for yourself but for everyone who crosses your path. Reflection transforms regret into purpose, absence into action, and longing into empowerment. It is the first step in becoming the person you needed, the first step in bridging the gap between who you were and who you are capable of becoming. When we talk about becoming the person we needed, It is not enough to merely reflect on our past struggles. Reflection is only the beginning. The next crucial step is understanding ourselves, truly understanding what drives us, what limits us, and what defines us. Personal growth does not happen by chance. It does not come from merely wishing for change or hoping for better circumstances. Real, lasting transformation begins within, and it begins with two essential qualities: empathy and self-awareness. Without these, we cannot fully recognize the person we are capable of becoming, nor can we offer guidance, support, and encouragement that we once longed for. Self-awareness is the lens through which we see ourselves clearly. It is the ability to pause and honestly examine our thoughts, actions, and emotions. It is asking ourselves difficult questions. Who am I at my core? What motivates me? What fears hold me back? What values guide my choices? Self-awareness requires honesty, the courage to confront both our strengths and our weaknesses, our successes and our failures. It is not about self-criticism or judgment. It is about clarity. When we are self-aware, we begin to understand why we react the way we do, why certain experiences hurt us more than others, and why some moments ignite passion while others cause fear. This understanding is the foundation of personal growth. It allows us to recognize patterns in our behavior, to identify habits that limit our potential, and to cultivate the qualities that will guide us toward the person we wish to become. But self-awareness alone is not enough. Reflection and self-examination can sometimes lead to stagnation if they are not balanced with empathy, the ability to understand and share the feelings of others. Empathy allows us to step outside of our own experience and see the world through the eyes of someone else. It is imagining the struggles, fears, and hopes of those around us, and responding not with judgment, but with compassion. When we combine self-awareness with empathy, we create a powerful dynamic. We begin to understand not only ourselves, but also the needs and experiences of others. This dual understanding is the bedrock of personal growth because it transforms insight into meaningful action. It allows us to respond to the world not only from a place of knowledge, but also from a place of understanding. Consider for a moment how this works in everyday life. When we are self-aware, we recognize our emotional triggers. We notice when frustration, fear, or pride begins to influence our behavior. With empathy, we understand how those same triggers might affect others, how their fears or anxieties shape their actions, and how our words and choices impact them. The combination of self-awareness and empathy transforms interactions into opportunities for growth. We stop reacting impulsively, we start listening actively, and we respond with intention. We begin to embody the guidance and understanding we once wished for, both for ourselves and for those around us. Empathy also teaches us humility. It reminds us that every person is fighting battles we cannot see. Every individual carries pain, doubt, and longing, just as we have. When we cultivate empathy, we learn to approach others with patience and kindness, even when their actions seem difficult or their words seem harsh. We begin to understand that personal growth is not only about our own development, but also about the way we influence and support others. By practicing empathy, we are no longer confined to the narrow lens of our own experience. We open ourselves to a world of connection, understanding, and meaningful contribution. Self-awareness and empathy work together in a delicate balance. Self-awareness allows us to recognize our limitations, our biases, and our areas for growth. It enables us to take responsibility for our actions and to approach life with honesty and integrity. Empathy allows us to extend that understanding outward, to engage with others thoughtfully and compassionately. Without self-awareness, empathy can become misguided or superficial, and without empathy, self-awareness can become self-centered or isolated. But when these qualities unite, they form the core of authentic personal growth. Let me share an example that illustrates this point. Imagine a young professional struggling with confidence at work. Without self-awareness, they might blame their environment or colleagues for their challenges. Without empathy, they might view the success of others as a threat rather than an inspiration. But with self-awareness, they recognize their insecurities and the areas in which they need to develop skills. With empathy, they understand the perspectives of colleagues and mentors, appreciating the challenges they face and the support they offer. By combining these qualities, the young professional not only improves their own performance, but also becomes a source of encouragement and guidance for others. They grow personally while also fostering growth in those around them. This is the transformative power of self-awareness paired with empathy. Moreover, understanding that personal growth begins with empathy and self-awareness allows us to take ownership of our own journey. We no longer wait for validation, encouragement, or guidance from others. We recognize that the power to change, to learn, and to evolve lies within us. We see our past struggles not as burdens but as lessons, and we approach the future not with fear, but with intentionality. Every decision we make, every challenge we face, becomes an opportunity to practice empathy, to deepen self-awareness, and to align our actions with the person we wish to become. Empathy also deepens our relationships. When we understand ourselves and approach others with compassion, we build connections that are meaningful and enduring. We learn to communicate effectively, to listen without judgment, and to support without expectation. Relationships, whether personal or professional, thrive when rooted in understanding. By developing empathy, we not only improve our own lives but also contribute to a culture of care and connection around us. We begin to see that personal growth is never isolated, it is intertwined with the growth and well-being of those we interact with. Another essential aspect of self-awareness and empathy is emotional intelligence. The ability to recognize, understand, and manage our emotions while also recognizing and influencing the emotions of others is central to becoming the person we needed. Emotional intelligence allows us to navigate conflict with grace, to offer support with sincerity, and to lead with authenticity. It transforms challenges into opportunities and setbacks into lessons. When we cultivate emotional intelligence through self-awareness and empathy, we develop a capacity for leadership, mentorship, and meaningful impact that extends far beyond ourselves. The process of growth is ongoing. Self-awareness and empathy are not traits we develop once and then forget. They are habits, practices, and commitments that we cultivate throughout our lives. Every experience, every conversation, every encounter offers a chance to deepen understanding, to refine perspective, and to act with intention. By embracing these qualities, we create a foundation upon which all other aspects of personal development can flourish. We become more patient, more resilient, more compassionate, and more capable of embodying the guidance, support, and encouragement we once longed for. Ladies and gentlemen, personal growth rooted in empathy and self-awareness is transformative because it is both inward and outward-facing. It challenges us to understand ourselves deeply, while simultaneously reaching beyond ourselves to understand and support others. It reminds us that the person we needed was not just someone who provided answers, but someone who listened, understood, and acted with integrity. And it teaches us that we have the power to become that person, not through shortcuts, not through luck, but through intentional practice, honest reflection, and a commitment to growth. When we integrate self-awareness and empathy into our daily lives, we create a ripple effect. Our interactions become more thoughtful, our decisions more intentional, and our relationships more meaningful. We inspire trust, foster connection, and create an environment in which others can thrive. By becoming self-aware and empathetic, we are no longer limited by our past struggles. We are empowered by them. We transform challenges into opportunities, gaps into guidance, and longing into purpose. Ultimately, understanding that personal growth starts with empathy and self-awareness allows us to step fully into the role of the person we needed. It enables us to offer the wisdom, encouragement, and support that might have been missing in our own journey. It equips us to face the world with clarity, compassion, and courage. It teaches us that growth is not merely about achievement or recognition. It is about becoming someone who uplifts, inspires, and transforms both themselves and the world around them. Ladies and gentlemen, take a moment to reflect on your own capacity for self-awareness and empathy. Think about how deeply understanding yourself and others can shape the way you live, the way you interact, and the way you influence the world. Every day presents opportunities to practice these qualities, to grow, and to become the person you once needed. The journey may be challenging, but it is also profoundly rewarding. By embracing empathy and self-awareness, you lay the foundation for a life of purpose, impact, and transformation. A life in which you not only grow personally, but also guide, inspire, and uplift those around you.